This is just a sample of the audiobook. To get the complete audiobook, access the link posted in the first comment.
Who rules? Raquel works at an Amazon fulfillment center on the East Coast, stocking items that will eventually be shipped to homes throughout the region. Everything from cans of soup to toilet paper. When the COVID-19 pandemic arrived in the United States, millions of families suddenly wanted to buy everything they needed without leaving their homes. As a result, Raquel found herself being publicly referred to for the first time as an essential worker. She is not yet sure whether it is a compliment. Raquel is the sole provider for her 5-year-old child and her mother, who has health problems. After the pandemic started, several of her co-workers were diagnosed with COVID-19 after the company failed to implement social distancing practices or provide personal protective equipment to employees. To protect her family's health, Raquel stopped going to work, calling in sick for as long as she could. But when her unemployment payments stopped, her student loans started piling up, and as overdue rent payments mounted, eviction loomed. How safe would her family be then? Leonard lives hundreds of miles from Raquel in a Midwestern city, where he drives for Uber and Lyft and delivers food for DoorDash. When hailing a ride became dangerous to public health, Leonard found himself in a tough spot. Unlike Raquel, he was not considered essential, and he quickly lost all sources of income. When he applied for unemployment benefits, he discovered he was not qualified because he was not an employee. Despite having been a faithful, rule-following worker for all of the app companies he'd relied on, Leonard was now on his own. What would he and his family do? The economy is not working for most of us. Too many people are forced to make impossible choices about whether to pay a utility bill, pay for a much-needed prescription drug, or put food on the table. Economic, social, and political shifts from plant closings to outbreaks of disease can devastate entire communities. If workers had a platform that allowed them to engage in decision-making within their companies, their industries, or the economy as a whole before a crisis arrived, they could avoid the kinds of impossible choices faced by Raquel, Leonard, and millions more like them. Why do U.S. workers lack such a platform? In this book, we'll explore that question. The prevailing political economy of the United States and much of the world is based on principles originally espoused by Southern slave owners. The paternalistic view that they knew what was best for their enslaved workers and that their liberty as individual landowners outweighed the rights of the working women and men who they claimed to own. This fundamental tension has defined our country from its beginning. Historian Eric Foner elaborates on how slavery sits at the root of modern-day conflicts in his book, The Second Founding: How the Civil War and Reconstruction Remade the Constitution. The Reconstruction period was marked by attempts to build a multiracial U.S. democracy. The 13th Amendment to the Constitution abolished slavery and all forms of forced labor. The 14th Amendment guaranteed citizenship to all those born in the United States, and the 15th Amendment guaranteed the right to vote to black men. Each included clauses empowering Congress to enforce these provisions with the goal of ensuring that Reconstruction would be the beginning of an extended historical process, the adjustment of American society to the end of slavery. Many of the gains made by social movements from the 1920s through the 1970s were anchored in the same Reconstruction-era principles: women's suffrage, the New Deal, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. These gains have been targeted by conservative judges and elected officials who have intentionally, systematically rolled them back, in many cases seeking to restore pre-Civil War interpretations of the Constitution.